Hello, my name is Anne Tailford and I work in the Education Data Division at the Department for Education. I'm here to talk to you about the school census and how it is used for school funding. This is one of a series of videos related to the school census collection and should be watched in conjunction with the others. This slide lists the topic areas I will be covering in the presentation. The aim of this presentation is to provide an overview of how the information you submit via your school census returns will be used in various funding allocations. It will also describe the tools available for you to use to help ensure you are content with the accuracy of your census return before passing it to the department. The data collected via the school census will directly impact on the funding allocated to your school. Therefore, it is essential that the data returned is complete and accurate for all children on roll at your school on census day. Pupils aged 4 and above in national curriculum year groups reception to 11, as well as those aged 4 to 15 where national curriculum year group does not apply, are funded via the schools block of the dedicated schools grant based on the autumn census. Each unique pupil will be funded as one full-time equivalent, regardless of part-time, full-time status. Funding for free early education will be provided to local authorities based on the funded hours and extended hours data collected via the spring school census. Local authorities will then be required to pass the funding on to their early years providers through their early years single funding formula. All pupils aged 3 and 4 are eligible for the universal entitlement to free early education, with children of eligible working parents also being entitled to an additional 15 hours of extended childcare. With regards to the data required via the school census, funded hours are required for all children aged 3, plus those aged 4 in national curriculum year groups E1, E2, N1 and N2. Extended hours are required for children within the same cohort with a valid eligibility code. A subset of the most disadvantaged 2-year-olds are also entitled to 15 hours of free early education, and this will also be allocated on a participation basis based on the funded hours recorded in the spring school census. Whilst all 2-year-olds on your school roll should be included within your census return, only those funded via the local authority should have funded hours greater than 0. All schools with infant pupils recorded on their census return are required to complete the school lunch taken field for each infant pupil. This is a true or false flag indicating whether or not the pupil took a lunch that was provided by the school on census day. This should reflect the genuine position on census day. Therefore, pupils absent due to illness, for example, should not be recorded as having a lunch on census day. However, please note that in exceptional circumstances, for example if the school is closed due to a teacher training day, another day when the situation is regarded as normal can be selected. The school lunch taken information returned on the census will be used alongside the free school meals eligibility information to determine the universal infant free school meal funding allocation for your school. The calculation of eligible pupils will be the number of infant pupils recorded as having a lunch on census day minus the number of infant pupils recorded as having a lunch on census day who are also recorded as FSM eligible on census day. A report showing a breakdown of the pupils included in the UIFSM funding calculation will be available for you to run in Collect. It is important that you check this report during the live collection to ensure the figures shown in the report are correct. It will not be possible to make amendments to either the data submitted or your funding allocation once the database has closed. Periods of free school meal eligibility that were live since the previous census will be collected in the current census for any pupil who is eligible for FSM and has made a claim. Following the introduction of the universal credit, transitional protections have been put in place for pupils who were eligible as at the 31st of March 2018 or became eligible after that date. These slides explain how the transitional arrangements should be implemented and how it affects the recording of free school meal eligibility information. Only infant pupils who meet the free school meal eligibility criteria and have made a claim should be recorded as FSM eligible. Receipt of a universal infant free school meal on its own does not mean that the pupil is FSM eligible, and they should not be recorded as such. A report is available in Collect to help you to check the FSM eligibility data submitted in your census. You can run this by clicking the Launch Reports button on the front page of your census. An example of the report is shown here. Please note that this report refers only to FSM eligibility reported in the current census collection and not the FSM EVER measure used to allocate the pupil premium, which I will talk about in the following slides. Pupils aged 4 and above in reception to Year 11 who are known as FSM eligible, a service child, or adopted from care, leaving care under a special guardianship order, a residence order, or a child arrangement order, will be eligible for pupil premium funding. Pupil premium funding will be calculated on the same basis as those for dedicated schools grant, taking into account any unresolved duplicate UPNs. The deprivation pupil premium is allocated to those pupils on roll at the time of the spring school census that are known to have been eligible for a free school meal on any pupil level census in the previous 6 years or 18 censuses, including those pupils who were first known to be eligible at the spring census day. Only periods of FSM allocated in England are counted. As the school census only collects periods of eligibility that were live at any point since the previous census, the Department's National Pupil Database will map on the history of the FSM eligibility from previous censuses for each pupil on roll in the spring school census to determine the actual numbers of FSM EVER pupils eligible for pupil premium. The service child pupil premium is allocated to pupils recorded as a service child on the current census or any of the previous 5 spring school censuses, or as being in receipt of a war pension scheme or Armed Forces and Reserves Forces pension scheme, according to the information the Department receives from the Ministry of Defence. The post-looked-after pupil premium will be paid to those pupils on the spring school census who were previously looked after by an English or Welsh local authority immediately before leaving care under an adoption, a special guardianship order, residence order, or a child arrangement order. Pupils who were previously looked after by an authority in Northern Ireland, Scotland, or overseas should not be recorded as such on the school census return. As the school census return does not identify children who are currently looked after, the pupil premium report will not include these children. The pupil premium allocation for those children will be calculated using the local authority children looked after return. The information used in the calculation of the early years pupil premium is collected annually via the spring school census. The eligible cohort for the early years pupil premium is shown on the slide. Pupils aged 4 in reception will be entitled to the main school-age pupil premium and therefore are excluded from the eligible cohort for the early years pupil premium. Early years pupils will be eligible for the EYPP if they are receiving funded early education and either meet the benefit part of the FSM criteria or are in the care of an English or Welsh local authority or have left the care of an English or Welsh local authority through adoption, special guardianship or a child arrangement order. A report is available in Collect to assist schools in checking this data. An example of how the report looks is shown on this slide. A unique pupil number, or UPN, is by definition unique to a particular learner, and each UPN will be funded only once, with the funding for any unresolved duplicates split for some funding streams. A duplicate UPN, that is, a UPN which has a registration at more than one establishment where the combination of enrolment statuses is invalid, may have an impact on the funding available. The slide shows examples of all valid and invalid combinations of enrolment statuses. There are 5 possible enrolment statuses, but for pupils registered at more than one school, the only valid combination is M, dual main, and S, dual subsidiary. You will see from the table, for example, that a combination of C, single registration, and M, dual main, will be treated as invalid, and funding may be split between the 2 enrolments if left unresolved. A duplicate UPN report will be available once your census has been loaded into Collect. This report will highlight any pupils appearing on your census and that of another school where there is an invalid combination of enrolment statuses. It is important that schools outside of local authority control take responsibility for resolving their own duplicate UPNs. If your duplicate is with a local authority school, you should contact the local authority, and if it is with a school outside of local authority control, contact the school directly. You can run your duplicate report in Collect by clicking on the Launch Reports option and selecting Duplicate Report, Same UPN from the drop-down menu. This slide shows an example of a duplicate with the same pupil having an enrolment status of S at an academy and C at a local authority maintained school. It is important that the academy and local authority have a conversation to resolve the duplicate during the live collection, as no amendments, including adjustments to funding calculations, can be made once the database has closed. To assist schools in quality assuring the pupil numbers held on their return, a report is available from the Reports section in Collect. The Pupil Number Report will provide a head count of your pupils by National Curriculum Year Group, a head count of your pupils minus subsidiary registrations, and the number of pupils that will be used in the DSG and pupil premium calculations. This slide provides links which you may require before and during the collection. More information about how to submit your census data to us, including details about what data is collected for each termly census, can be found on the school census page. Please take some time to read these documents as they will help you fulfil your statutory requirements and successfully complete an accurate census return. In addition to the online documents, we also provide a data collection forum. The purpose of the forum is to provide a facility to allow customers to exchange ideas and good practice relating to specific data collections and related EDD systems. To gain access to this forum, please complete a service request form. The Data Collection Help Desk issues regular email bulletins before and during the data collection period. These bulletins provide important messages to help schools make a successful school census return, and so please ensure you read the information carefully. I do hope you found this presentation helpful. Thank you.